So we may as well kick start whilst we've got, I think, most of the registered attendees on board. So my name's Ryan. I'm one of our customer success managers here at NextMinute. We've got my colleague Luca joining us in a moment as well. We're both going to be driving the session today. Just a bit of housekeeping. So you've got in the Zoom meeting, if you haven't used Zoom before, we've got at the very bottom of your Zoom window a little Q&A button there, which has got a question mark in a little text box. Any questions as we're sort of speaking, feel free to chuck them in the chat box. We'll try to reserve some time as we sort of go when there's breaks available to open up to any of your questions. I think we've also got, whether it's Luca or I talking, the other will try and answer any questions as well. There he is. G'day, mate. And I think we might have Duncan, who might be joining us a little bit later as well. So as we know, the topic for today is ultimately about saving time with templates. So it's one thing that we all seem to struggle the most with, which is never enough time to do things. So hopefully by the end of today's session, we'll be able to get a little bit of that time back under your belt. And whilst it doesn't seem like the sexiest of topics, but if you are still doing a lot of manual, building out of quotes, your jobs, tasks, invoices, all of that sort of stuff from scratch, I promise you're working too hard in the platform. We're really trying to cut a lot of that admin work in half by trying to organize a lot of these templates for those particular components of your day-to-day sort of work. So the first thing I'm going to do as I start sharing my screen is talk about the two locations in which you'd primarily build out your templates from. So Luca, I might just get you to sing out and make sure that you can see my screen okay?
Yep. Yeah, no problem.
Lovely. So as I'm sure all of you have heard us say before, there's many roads to Rome in NextMinute. The way that we teach you to do something today isn't necessarily the only way to do it, but it's just one direction that we can basically give you. So in the admin section of all of your accounts, you've got this little templates folder at the top here, and you've also got messaging. They're the two main things that we're going to go through today, which is where obviously all of your main job quoting, invoicing templates live, in addition to your messaging templates, which are basically the addition of sending out an email that's got a quote to it. So you'd be messing around with the email content as a template, as opposed to building out the quote, which lives in the template section here. So quoting, invoicing, supplier invoices, POs, building those templates out are virtually the same. It's the same process. So the main thing that we're going to focus on at the very bottom here is our pre-built sale item templates. There's no limit to how many templates that you can create in NextMinute, which is obviously great, especially if you've got quite a number of different kind of jobs that you might be wanting to spin, quotes or templates up or anything like that. So the way in which you can, for example, build out a quote template is by jumping in and selecting add here. By default, it's going to take us to what you've probably seen before if you've built out quotes before or invoices, is just that blank quote template or section. So it's just a matter of building out your section names as you've done before, inserting the relevant items as you would normally do. So just keep in mind, obviously, for a template, the goal here isn't necessarily get things to exactly how you're going to perceive it every single job or quote. It's to get you to a point where it's 70 to 80% of the way there, and then it's just minor manipulation or editing of particular things like items or sections that aren't necessarily needed for that quote. So each template that you create, now keep in mind as well, this isn't specifically a quote template that we're creating here. So the terminology behind a pre-built sale item template is basically the section and the items within this template can be pulled into any one of a quote, an invoice, a supplier invoice, or a PO. So it's not specific to, right here we're creating a quote template, though you can name it as such, but you could theoretically pull this template into any one of those documents. But for example's sake, let's just go and we'll create, say, a quote template. It could be for, if I'm a landscaper, it might be a soft landscaping template that we might want to create for our quotes. So again, you just build these out as you normally would, section by section, and put in the relevant estimates broken down by your labor, materials, disbursements, and other fees. I'll just give you a quick look at one that we've made a little bit earlier. Again, this is a pretty basic sort of version of it, but you just have all of your details spilt out there, your total template, profit margin, and so on, basically ready to use and be pulled into a job. Now, how you would go about then using this template is you've got two options really. You might have a pre-existing job that you're wanting to now create a quote for, or invoice for that matter, or you might just go and want to create a blank quote from this section here. Whatever location you do it in, it doesn't virtually matter because you're going to get the same options of how you actually add a quote. This would be the same for invoices and supplier invoices as well. So essentially what we'd need to do there is using a pre-built template, select that, and that's where you'll then have the drop down here of all the different pre-built sale item templates that we've created. So really all we need to do is just select the template that we want, insert the relevant customer names, change the title, update the dates, and save it. So what that's going to do, as you imagine, it will pull across all of the exact section names with all of the relevant items broken down into each of those sections. It copies across all of the totals, as you can see, from the source being the template, giving us the same end result. So naturally what you do from here is you might say for this soft landscaping quote, actually, we don't really need the site prep or maybe irrigation or draining. So you can just use the bulk selection tools to either, delete specific items or sections from it and just get it as close as you need to be within that quote. Now, again, just to reiterate, this is copy paste the same thing for all of your invoices and supplier invoices and so on. It's the same process. It's the same theory behind it all. Some of the other things that you might want to do within particularly a quote is to create different templates for things like your quote header, footer, your terms and conditions, and even your cover page too, if you're doing some sort of larger tenders. So by default, NextMinute have got some standard sort of headers and footers that we can load in for you. If you select this little plus button here, you've got a standard template which will show up, but then any other template that we create here will show up underneath it. So essentially all you need to do to find one of the templates that we create is just click into the header section or the footer section. The T's and C's will apply automatically as well, but you can also adjust those by viewing the T's and C's page and or having a cover page. Now, how we adjust these parts of a template, if we go back into our admin section, visit templates, within quotes here, you've got header, footer, cover page, and T's and C's that we were just talking about. So for example, I've set my soft landscaping header as a default. So it's going to show up for every single quote that I do. Again, you can see the contents of it. It's just a free text field, so you just chuck in whatever details that you want. It's just a good idea if you do have different kinds of jobs that you're wanting to quote for. You might, especially in the header, where a lot of our customers would be chucking in like the scope of works, you can just try and tailor that to a particular job as best you can. So you'll just need to select that from the little plus button that I showed you earlier. For the things like the terms and conditions page, look, for the most part, if you're anything like me and just use ChatGPT to chuck in a standard blanket T's and C's form, you probably would just set that as default and won't need to change that from quote to quote or job to job for the most part. But essentially, you just use the tick box to alter those between what you want to set as default and not. So again, you can create as many or as little of these, and it's exactly the same for invoices, supplier invoices, and orders too. You just go through and update the relevant headers for each of those items there. So if we jump back into our quote, let's just find one of the other ones here. The way in which you would, again, add those header and footer notes, click the little plus button and away you go. For the T's and C's, if you're wanting to preview it, again, we can just have a look at the quote here. It's already going to chuck it onto page 2 for us. So you'll be able to say, oh, this is an old quote, but if I jump into our new one that we added, you'll be able to see the default T's and C's that we've chucked onto page 2. Groovy. So the next real part, so that's sort of covering a lot of the pre-built templates for just your quoting, your invoicing, supplier invoices, and so on. The next big one that Luke is going to walk through in a little bit more detail is just around creating your job templates. So again, this is really going to help save a lot of time, especially when you're, because what we'd primarily recommend doing is with each of your job types, ultimately you try and set up a template for each of these because you're going to have different tasks that are associated with these jobs, along with different details around, here's your checklist of what you want to sort of do throughout that job. Obviously, things like customer details and the dates and times will all change, but yeah, look, I'll let Luca drive through the bulk of what you can do in that respect. So, Luke, if you want to just take over the screen share, mate.
Yeah, I'm trying to say host is not allowing multiple presenters. There we go. Okay.
Hey, sorry, just before you go, Ryan, there's a couple of questions in the Q&A panel.
Oh, yep. Perfect. Just give me one sec.
Let's go take what the questions are already.
Yep, I might get you. Mark, do you mind just reading them out for me, mate? I've just
Yeah, good. Sorry, mate.
Thank you.
Lucas has asked if you could just explain disbursements a bit more.
Yeah. So disbursements, it really depends on how you want to define them, but most of our trades would label them as like your hiring fees. So if you bring in skip bins or portaloos or anything like that to a job, that's what most would label as disbursements. Even things like your fuel allowances or travel costs or anything like that.
Another one. Yeah.
Consumables, yeah.
And the second question is from Donna. If I want to add to the section or subsection description, why do I have to retype the whole description rather than just edit it?
Okay. I think it was. So when you are trying to edit it, it's highlighting everything. You want to add a section. Oh, no. Okay. No, I'm not too sure what that answer. I was thinking, I know I've had an issue where you try to edit a description of a section and then you're trying to select the middle of it. So I'm thinking of another issue.
Yeah, Donnie, if you wanted to unmute yourself to elaborate further, feel free.
Just a second. I'll see if Donna is available.
Yeah, maybe we check on offline. We can answer.
Yeah, well, if
Is that better?
Oh,
yep,
yeah,
we can hear you, Donna.
Okay, now I'm there. So it's more so when I've pulled the template through and I'm invoicing in this particular case, the way we're doing it, I have all the guys set up as subsections when it comes to labor, and I need to go in and add the hours for that particular month next to their name. But obviously, when I do that, I have to retype their whole name and the hours, and then add the hours.
Oh, is that the description of the line item?
Yes, or should I say? So I have a how do I
Was it the
explain it?
section description, the subsection description?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Oh, so is that clear? So when you go create it from the template, when you create a invoice or from that template, the section descriptions are copying across in the subsection?
So it brings it across, but then say I need to add to it. So I might have a guy's name as the subsection description, and then I need to add to that. But in the process, I have to retype his whole name and then add what I want to put.
All right. I'll have to take a look further into that because I'm not too sure of the answer at this point. But I'll get back to you either today or tomorrow for that, and I'll let everyone else know the answer as well.
Good as gold. Thanks.
Cool. Any other questions in the chat?
Nope.
Cool. Alrighty, Luca, take it away.
Yeah. All right. So guys, so I'm going to go over the job templates first. So basically, you can go to any of your jobs here, and you can make them any of them a template. So I've made one. I call it a job template source. So basically, I've given it a type, a status, and pricing. But if we look into it, I've added in 4 tasks in here, so I can actually copy all these. So basically, it's all I've given it a status, job type, pricing type, and what tasks there are. So from here, I can go more and say save as a job template, which I've done already. So so now it's sitting. So now I'm going to go to add a user template. It's sitting here now, and it's got the same type, status, and pricing that I've set up. So if I open this up, it's going to ask me what do I want to copy across from the job. It's got the default name here. It's just Reno. So I made it as a Reno job template I've made. So I call it Reno fixed price. So I can put the address in. So I can say 60 Jackson Ave, for example. Then you could put the start end date. If you're not sure what it is, just leave it blank for now. But basically, it's going to copy everything that I've put in here. The only data I had was the job type, pricing type, status for this example. I'll probably untick this. Oh, we can keep this ticked. This is where it forces people to put their timesheets to a task. We've got 4 tasks, so we can keep them enabled. You can also copy the job sheet. So if you had different requirements for different job types, you can have different information on your job sheet. So it might be good to copy that across. And then also importantly, the scheduled tasks. When do you want the first one to start? So they're all going to have a similar spacing. I haven't changed the dates yet, but theoretically you can have, cladding happening a few days later from roofing or, etc. You can currently do all at the same time, but you could, whatever the different dates it's going to follow through. So you say, I want to say the first date is the 18th. It's going to push everything to the 18th. But this will push to the 20th, the 22nd, 24th, if you had 2 days apart, for example. But if we save that now, it's not going to create the job with the same types of same status. And then from here, you can edit and then put the address in. So stream this out to 60 Jackson. Yes, street. Yeah, we'll go street. And then it's also, because I didn't have any address set for the tasks. So say, do you want the tasks? You could have different addresses for the tasks theoretically, but that's unlikely. But so that's the main benefit. You could theoretically copy a job one-to-one, all the charges and everything like that if you really wanted to. Not sure what that would be, but mainly it's just you want to be, I'm going to add a job. I guess a Reno. I'm doing a new build template. It just makes it easier for all the scheduled tasks to list up there. And you can have all the spacing out, like 1 week for this task, 2 weeks for this task, and it'll space everything out.
Hey, sorry, Lucas. I'm just, sorry, mate. I might just turn your video off and see if it's your audio is getting pretty cut up, and I think it might just be
okay.
Yeah. So
No
just I'll turn your video off and see if it cleans it up a bit.
No problem.
Take away, brother.
Appreciate that. Okay, so now we got job templates. Feel free to ask some questions regarding it because it is quite a great way to save some time, especially having to not manually re-enter those stages of a project, which we were saying tasks. So yeah, feel free to ask later or now. So for messaging, this is a major one for when you've got to send messages out to either for your users or employees or to customers. So the biggest one would be, I'll scroll down, would be the messaging for the invoice attached and quotes attached. So these are the 2 major ones that you guys most likely be using. So for example, this one, it says quote, and then there's the unique number. You can say dear first name. So this is a similar default one, but you can make anything you want with these merge fields, which are quite for all messaging, this is quite major, this merge fields here. So this saves you having to manually enter the data. So for example, you could put in the quote total in here. So you can say like, oh, what's the total? You can chuck that into put that in here. So now you got the please find attached quote. That's, total. So then, it's more clear, like they can see the email saying, oh yeah, the total quote is $5,000. And then they open the quote and it says 5,000. And that could be including GST or excluding GST. There's two options there, but you can save that. So then for every quote that you send out, this default here for quotes, that will be what your message will be email-wise to the customers. The other ones that you may find useful is like job notifications. So you could send to your guys, you can text them, or you can do the app notification. So you can have a template saying like when this gives them, you can have a whole bunch of those merge fields again, where you can say job number, the name of the job, the address. So like, this is where you can send them a message so they know, okay, I know where the address is of the job, who the contact name is, email, phone number. So you've got a lot of options there for the notifications within the job. I mean, most people should have access to jobs if you assign them, but this is just another way for, you could do it on the day or at the start of the week. You can send them a message saying like, hey, here's some details, just to put that in their head. So like, oh, yeah, this is the job that's going to happen this week or the next few days. You can also do the same for tasks. You can assign a bunch of people. So if I go to a job, for example, if I go to the jobs table view, I can see all these jobs and I say, I want to select 2 jobs here. I can then assign them and it will send them a notification. So you can say, oh, yes, Paige Turner and Timber. So when you assign them, they'll get a notification that they've been assigned. You can do email push notification. So they're getting an alert. This will be the same, and this is the jobs assigned to list template I've made. And they'll say that, yep, you've been assigned to this job. This is what it's called. You could put much more information here. I just kept it simple, but and then they'll send it off. And then within a job, you can also, I need to find a job that has tasks on it. So for this one here, if you were wanting to assign someone to multiple tasks, you can select, say, they're going to work on all 3 bedrooms, go next, and then you can assign it to whoever, and then they can get a push notification, and it'll tell them that they've been tasks assigned within a job notification. I've just made it so it says, okay, this is the date that the job's on, this is the details and who the people have been assigned to, and you can send it off. And you can also do the push notification through the app. Don't have too much details here, but that's the benefit there. So if you were wanting to send messages without having to manually type out all the information, you can have the templates there to help you out under messaging. And then I'm trying to think what other major ones here for the messaging. But yeah, I think that's most of the ones I would cover that makes sense to me. And then the major one is the the materials importing. So basically, when you're first starting out or you're wanting to update your materials, we've got this import material sales items here. So you can download it and it'll give you what you want to do, or you can create your own. So what I've got on for this is for New Zealand customers who are with Carters, but I've made a tool here. Basically, you can plug in your price book from Carters. So this is just this is the format for Carters. It's got the price, units, product code, categories, and I've made it so it outputs the description, what the subcategories are, and the description, the name, and then you can put up your markup here for each line item. It'll just populate whatever value you put in here. It's not really necessarily related to NextMinute. This is more what you're going to put in. So you export this. If you're using Excel or Google Sheets, you'll save it to a CSV file. And then from here, you go choose import file. And I'll say, oh yeah, I've got my price book here, CSV file. And then from here, you can choose a template. I've made a card as one, but you could add one. And it's going to pull in, it's going to look at your spreadsheet and see, okay, I've got the name. It's going to try and line everything up. So it says, I need an item code. So I'm like, well, I'm going to use the supplier code for that. And then it doesn't know what tag is. So I just cut that tags. And I'll say this is card is. And then you can select the supplier here. So if I look for card is, save that. And then if I go done, and so this might take a while. It's about like 18,000 line items, but it should do it. And then if you get an update in your price book, it will, if you use the same price book, same format, it will update the pricing. So if the prices change, you can just upload the same price book with the new pricing, and it will update each line item individually from there. Probably should have made it so big, but anyway, it'll be done very shortly. Should have cut that in half. Trying to think what else I can cover for these for the materials. So basically, it will come down to if you have different price books, you would, as you said, you would select a different supplier, and then you can use the search. You can use this filter function here. Just got to wait for it to finish uploading, but from here, and then some of the errors because some have some codes. Yeah, some price books have the same code, so it's not going to upload the same item twice. But basically, you can filter by supplier if you really need. If you had multiple suppliers, but for now I won't. And then you can also, with the tags I've made, that you can look from different tags here that I've created. And yeah, that's the price books from there. Obviously, price book uploading in materials. You can do the same for disbursements as well. So this is where you have consumables, or for example, using like hire pool. You want to add in the different equipment you can hire. You can do the same import disbursements. It's the same layout as well. You can use this download disbursement sales items list. And if you've got a price book from hire pool or whoever does equipment hire, you can put it under disbursements. If you've got consumables, you can put it underneath here as well. That's what I would recommend doing.
Nice one. Thanks, Luca. So we're wrapping up a relatively shorter webinar for today in comparison to last ones. Probably the last thing just to keep in the back of your mind as well, if a lot of you have already, created a number of, job templates, quote templates, all that sort of stuff. It's not to say that you have to build them from scratch from here on out. You can actually use pre-existing ones and then just save them as a template too. So super quick, I'll just show you how to do that for an example quote, and then we can open it up to some questions and wrap up this session. So if again, we've got an existing quote that we want to turn into like this full garden redesign, I jump into the quote, I just hit more, and then save it as a pre-built template. So just have a bit of a think around some existing ones that you that might be worthwhile spinning into a template, or at least just giving that a bit of a go. It might take a little bit of an investment to begin with, but as I said at the beginning, it's definitely a valuable sort of option, trying to get these set up earlier on, so you are able to just speed up some of those slightly administrative sort of tasks as well. But yeah, we'll open it up to the Q&A chat, or for anyone that's got any questions before we wrap up today. We'll just give you a couple of moments to type out any questions. Cool, we've got a thumbs up.
We'll go in here. Orders. Oh, that's a good question about orders. So orders, you can set up different templates for your orders based on which supplier you're sending it to, because I'm imagining that each different suppliers will have a different way of how you place orders. So it's very similar, I guess, to a quote or an invoice. You could have a pre-built line items, and then you can add that to the order. The orders can have their own header and footer as well. So they're essentially the same layout as a quote and an invoice, but it's more what's the use, like I guess order numbers and how that relates back to a job. That's a little bit more difficult, how to set the numbers up. So when you place you want to use the order number maybe as a PO, so that it doesn't go over budget, right? I guess if you order to you get a quote from a plumber, you would get the quote, and then that will be the PO. Try and use that as a PO number, I guess, as well. Just depends if you're trying to if it's a subcontractor or if it's a supplier. But yeah, normally most customers don't use the order function. They're more of maybe they'll send an email to their supplier, but you can do that through NextMinute.
Yeah, cool. And we've got one more, Luca. If you use a QS who provides a CSV file, is there an easy way to import into a quote template?
So what's a QS, like quality survey? What's the user QS? Yep. Yeah. So I guess it comes down to we have a quote importing template that you have to make sure the columns match. It is quite tricky, I'd say. You got the import file. I think we do have an example. If we have a using import file, if you go back, Ryan, if we do here we go. So you're right. Sorry, my bad. You're in the right spot.
Thanks, mate.
No, I just missed the first part. So basically, you need to copy this quote import template or example, and then just do a one-to-one. It's pretty tricky because, we don't know what that other Excel or CSV file, where the columns are, what the names are. You would have to know that there could be some abbreviated name, and that could mean the buy price or sell price, or it might say SKU number for supplier code, which obviously that's an easy one, but you just have to tell NextMinute where to look for what field. And then there's also the limit of the line items can only be 200 characters long. So if you have an item name that's over 200, then you're going to get an error, and it won't tell you why. Unfortunately, that's something we need to work on because it's not as user-friendly as we would like it to be. But look, if you line up pretty much line up, you tell NextMinute which column is what, then you should be okay. And if you limit the characters to 200 for the line item name. Someone asked, can we preload subcontractors as a supplier? I guess you can put them. Is that what you're referring to?
We can see if we can try and get Terry off mute as well, Mark.
Yep, sure, hold on a sec.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Yep, g'day.
Yeah, so when I do quotes, you get subcontractors and you got disbursements, right? So you go into disbursements, like labor, materials, and then disbursements, and then other. When I use the main subcontractors, and there isn't a preload them, so I preload their name. So what I do is I put it under disbursement. So if I go, if I got my electrician, I just go click onto him, and then it adds it into the item line as a subcontractor.
Oh, right, I see. Yeah, where you can't do a preloaded other, right. You can use this, you could use disbursements for subcontractors. But yeah, that's something we do need as well. We need a category for subcontractors or subcontractors. So yeah, most customers use, they either use disbursements or other. But yeah, as you're pointing out, that others doesn't have a you can't select a line item as electrician. You have to type it out manually. This is where I guess the templates might come in handy, where if you have the same type of some subcontractors on a job, you would have a section for plumber, electrician, or you have you have different sections for each subcontractor, so you don't have to manually type it out. And then you can put their quote in, and then the description of the work they're going to do into the line item.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So either way, so yeah, I just put it in disbursements, makes it easy. I just click on it, it goes over.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you put it under, you have to keep manually typing it in. That's all.
Yeah.
Unless you make use of the pre-built templates, but you might not have the same subcontractors on the job, so you get more control with the disbursements option.
Yeah, we do get some customers that would just try and put in the average sort of cost if you can work that out for your subbies, and that's where they can use the templates and put it in as other underneath the relevant section. But for accuracy, look, you're probably better off just chuck it in as disbursements per sort of trade type.
Yeah, you could tag them as a subcontractor and disbursements. So disbursement line item, you can have a subcontractor tag, so it's easy to find if you happen to have multiple disbursement line items.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Nice.
Nice one. Okay, I think we're just about wrapping up the last of the questions now. So after this recording, we'll make sure to disperse this amongst all of you as well. If you've got any questions that come up afterwards, please make sure to reach out to Luca and myself and the rest of the support team as well. We're going to keep on doing these webinars. I think we're aiming the next one for probably around this time next month as well. So we always appreciate all of your good ideas because we like to steal them all. So if you've got any thoughts about what you would like the next webinar to be on, please don't be a stranger and make sure to let us know as well. But yeah, we'll wrap up this recording. Thank you everyone for joining today. Thanks, Luca, and we'll make sure to catch you next time.